Hey, the lights have dimmed a couple of times since I've gotten home, so if we break contact, it's because the power just went out.
Dude, I can fill air. This is how I fill air. I'll go like this. And I'll just do that for like 30 minutes until you get back.
Alright.
The Goofy Fella Show, episode 9. Dude, 9 episodes.
Is it really 9?
It is 9 episodes.
You know, that's the perfect number, 9.
1 is the loneliest number.
1 is the loneliest number. 2 is...
It's possible.
just a duplicate of 1.
Yeah, it's possible 2 could be lonelier than 1. Welcome back, valued viewers. I am back with Mr. Adam.
Yep, you got to deal with me for another little while, I guess.
All right,
30,
so now that
40 minutes.
Now that we've lost all our viewers, we can start. We can get into good stuff. We tried to start it off on the rip because Adam and I haven't spoken in a while, and I feared that we would talk about interesting stuff before we started. So we just he joined the call, and we're
yeah. It's 12:10 a.m. So we're doing this in the wee hours of the night.
This is a little bit earlier of a podcast than you guys are used to, rather. Usually it's about 2 a.m. I'm recording these. So
yeah, it's Friday, September 9th.
It is Friday. This week has gone by quickly.
It really has.
So we were supposed to record this podcast on Thursday, the 8th.
But I was having technical difficulties. I couldn't get...
I was unaware of the situation. Because I was like, yo, just text me when you get home. And then I was like, oh my goodness, it's 12:45. I probably need to go to sleep. He probably forgot. And so I text you, and you were just like, okay. And I'm like, oh shit, was I supposed to notify him that we were doing? I felt like I had fucked up there.
No. I booted the laptop up. I put the earphones in, and yet again, the earphones didn't work. So I spent most of last night unsuccessfully trying to diagnose it, and then the better part of this morning, it ended up being the card that the AUX cable is connected to was had a faulty update, so I actually had to uninstall it and then reinstall it.
Well, there does seem to be like a small connection issue. You're a little bit choppy, but it's not too bad. It's something.
That's probably my internet connection more than anything else.
That's something we can deal with. It's not the audio quality is better than last time.
Good.
Yes. What I wanted to talk to you about, and why I was like, you know what, fuck it, let's just start it. Yesterday I was doing research for the podcast, and I was looking into, I kind of wanted to do a conspiracy theory type thing. And so I was looking into a bunch of different conspiracy theories. But the one I was really drawn to, and the one I did the most research on, was the conspiracy theory. You know how, like, I've talked about it on here before, but people inject baby blood into their face and make them look younger.
Yeah, what is that called? That's
There's a word for it. I can never remember it. It's a big word.
It's not amoxicillin. It's
I can't remember what it is. It's a big word like that. But when the theory, and a lot of politicians do it. A lot of Hollywood celebrities do it.
Allegedly.
No, I mean, a lot of them come out and they say, well, it's not baby blood.
Adrenochrome.
It's the afterbirth. What's that called? The placenta.
Placenta,
yes. So a lot of celebrities and politicians have come out and said that they use the placenta and do a epidermal thing on their face to keep them young. It's like an aging cream that they use. But some people, and the conspiracy theory I went deep into last night was that the Queen of England she is a cannibal, and she would eat babies to give her eternal life. Which,
so how many hours did you spend on this research for the queen?
it was, so I called it at about 12:45. It was probably about 2 hours. Well, not 2 hours just into that, but it was about 2 hours of research. So I probably did a good hour of research into the queen, and
she went and fucked it all up.
and
for
then
you.
she went and died. So why that's so funny is she died today. All my research
is genuinely hilarious.
because I did all this research of how she's eating babies to live forever, and then she died.
It's completely fucked up your
died
story.
today, dude. Someone told me that today. Someone was like, "The queen is dead," and I was like, "Yeah, you know." And he's like, "No, literally, the Queen of England just died." I'm like, "You don't understand how important that is to me." and not for the reason it should be. So that was one of my topics. I'm just gonna throw that one to the wayside. But
no, I'd like to touch on that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. So here are the facts. I'm just gonna drop the facts real quick. She eats babies, or she did rather.
Do you think this is just a rouge and she's gone out on retirement?
Nah, I think she's dead.
I think she's dead.
No, she's very dead.
I don't know. I see a body. I'm skeptical.
She was she was 130 years old, dude.
It's not true at all.
What?
She was 96.
Something like that. Somewhere in between those. And
Oh, man. I just averaged the two out.
she's very dead. Do you know who else is dead?
Gorbachev.
Yeah, Gorbachev died, which I don't really care too much about, but
How can you not care much about that?
Gorbachev?
Yeah.
He was an American.
Yeah, but he was literally the last supreme Soviet of the USSR.
Yeah, and
That man literally signed documents that dissolved the Soviet Union.
yeah, he lived longer
And-
than Reagan.
Lived to be, what was he, 94?
117, I think.
117. You realize that people in the Soviet Union, when they got out of power, they mysteriously died. And that man was able to push through.
Well, the other people, when they got out of the Soviet Union still existed. Are you talking about people like under him? Or people before him?
Both.
Because
In 93, the Soviet Union was on a shaky regime. There was actually a coup. He was actually, it's kind of ironic, he was on vacation in Crimea, and the coup, what's that?
where the fuck is Crimea?
I don't know, I want to say it's been in the news recently.
You're thinking of Afghanistan.
No, he definitely was not vacationing in Afghanistan.
It doesn't seem like a good place to vacation.
Crimea?
No, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan?
Yeah, it's mainly desert. I've never been there personally.
Oh, it's fucking beautiful. Well, parts of it are beautiful. There are just huge tracts of absolute desolate nothingness.
I hear they're one of the biggest tourist drivers was the burn pits. The Afghanistan burn pits. They were pretty cool to look at. Breathe in.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. whilst you've got your 3M earbuds in.
Yes. I have a coworker who has a pair of them. He's believe he was Army, and he has a pair of them in his toolbox, and he calls it his retirement plan.
That is funny.
Yeah. He has a lot of good. A lot of the guys I work with are old military. They have a lot of good stories.
Good.
My boss, he's Navy. He's probably he's probably like 55, something like that. And he's old Navy. And he's got that death stare in him, dude. He'll come out in the shop and like light up a cigarette and smoke it like it's the first cigarette he's had in 30 years and just stare off into the distance.
Do you know what he did in the Navy?
I don't know. Look, I barely know he was in the Navy. You know, all the other guys who are in the military, they'll talk about it all the time. Like, it came up one day in conversation. I was like, you were in the military? He's like, yeah, I was Navy. Yeah, but he just does not talk about it, which, I don't know, it's the Navy. Well, what could they have done?
Yeah, I guess surface Navy is more into
what do you see, a shark
pulling into ports?
You saw a shark or something. It was like, you know, that scarred me for life.
Christ.
No, the person I was going to talk about that was dead is Joan Rivers, and she didn't die recently. What was that, 2014? That was another conspiracy theory I was looking into, that the Obamas killed Joan Rivers because she exposed Michelle Obama for being a transgender and Barack Obama for being gay. Dude, she said that, and then 4 days later she died. That was a cool one to look into. Alex Jones loved that one, dude.
I bet.
Oh, he loved it.
So more importantly, who is Joan Rivers?
A comedian. She was a woman.
A comedian?
Yeah, a woman comedian for her entire life. And so I don't know if it was TMZ. It was one of those, you know, met her outside her house and was like, hey, what do you think about us having the first gay president? And do you think that would be okay? And she's like, we already have a gay president, Obama. Because he's fucking Michelle Obama, who's a transgender. Everyone knows that. And Alex Jones just
is that how that started?
Yeah, I don't know if it's how it started, but no, it couldn't have been how because she's a comedian, so she probably heard it online, and then she's like, well, you know, that's why she said it.
So what was the cause of death?
She was in surgery gone wrong, which is a pretty easy way to kill someone.
Yeah, it actually kind of is.
While they're under the knife. But it was 4 days after she said that Michelle Obama was a transgender, which is something I've heard a lot. Alex Jones went into it with like her shoulders and how you can only fit 2 heads on a woman's shoulder and 3 heads on a man's shoulder, and you can fit 3 Michelle Obama heads on her shoulders, so that's irrefutable evidence that she's a man. And then she died.
It is. Oh, Alex Jones is such a funny character.
Dude, he is so funny. I don't care about what he said. Like, dude, bring him back, please. Just let him speak. He takes conspiracy theories to a whole new level.
He really does.
I saw this.
Have I gone on about how? Have I told you that I met him?
You met Alex Jones?
I met Alex Jones before he got famous.
No way, you didn't.
So my parents are big into alternative news. I'm doing air quotes. I know this is a
wait, no. Stop. I gotta go get another beer for this. You gotta you gotta fill air for a second. I'm gonna get a drink.
All right. So guess. Tonight I am drinking a Sierra Nevada hazy little thing IPA. It's the first beer I've had this month. I was gonna go sober for the month of September, and I've completely ruined it so that we can get better material for you to listen to. I'm feel it's necessary for me to loosen up my restraint by being just plastered drunk when we do these.
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back?
Yeah, continue what you're saying, but please go into the Alex Jones story as soon as possible.
So, my parents were both into alternative media. My father, what the hell was it? It was there was a radio channel that my father got into in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was fuck, I can't remember what the name of the radio station was. No, it was even more obscure than that.
What?
Yeah. So I grew up listening to Alex Jones and Dave Riley and his wife. Fuck.
Jenna Riley.
I can't. No. I can't remember her name. She kept her maiden last name.
Oh, okay.
But my father got so big into this alternative news that he ended up going to a couple of rallies that they held. And I want to say we were in Texas, and Alex Jones was there, and he was doing talks after or he was doing meet and greets after the talk, and my father went up and talked to him, and I got to shake his hand. I also got to shake he's the Green Beret from the Waco incident, but the one in Montana, where the FBI ended up killing pretty much an entire family.
What, the Waco?
No, it was before Waco. It was an incident in Montana. There were some there was a family that went off grid. They didn't want to be bothered by the U.S. government, so they ended up buying a plot of land and homeschooling their kids and just living off the land. They sold a cut-off shotgun to an undercover FBI agent, and they went to go take this feller in, and they got in a bit of a standoff and ended up killing one of this guy's kids and his wife.
Jesus.
Yeah. But they brought in a former Green Beret to talk this guy down, because they were both former Green Berets. It was
What branch of the military?
I shook his hand as well.
Is that Army or Marines?
Green Berets are Army.
Army. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
Green Berets were the first special operations in the United States military.
What's the Spec Ops in Marines? Do they have one?
Special Forces was in Marine Corps was formerly Marine Recon, and they've been reorged in the past 5 years. They are now MARSOC.
MARSOC. What a shit name.
Yep.
A shit name to match a shit branch of the military. I've met...
MARSOC is supposed to be right up there with the SEALs.
Supposed to be.
Like, MARSOC is actually considered a Tier 1 operator.
Well, the Earth is supposed to be warming up because of human interaction. I've met multiple Marines. 2, to be exact.
to an organization that employs like 80,000 people, and you have
I'm gonna base it off of the
one 100,000th of a percent.
the two interactions I've had, because that's all anyone can do. That's all any human can do is base off of their own interactions and their.
That's not accurate at all.
All you can do.
Have you ever heard of the scientific methods?
Yeah, so what I've done is I have created a hypothesis that Marines are fucking stupid. And then
and that is actually a very popular myth about them.
Yeah, they eat
and for
crayons
most
and
of the enlisted community, most of them, it's a pretty accurate assessment is to Marines.
Is it fair that I can only go off of the ones I've met? Look, you didn't let me finish. One of them is a very bright guy. Mason, he's a listener. He is a very bright guy. I like him a lot. He's there. The other one, on the other hand, is not a listener, so I'm going to shit on him. Dude, he might listen one day. So anyways, moving on. What were we talking about? You met Alex Jones, then you met a Green Beret, who you can't remember his name, who was in basically Waco, Texas, before Waco, Texas.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of Subtropolis?
Subtropolis?
Subtropolis. It's in Kansas City, Missouri. And I don't know what kind of mine it was. It was some kind of mine that they've now turned into underground storage. And
okay, I have heard of that.
You can just drive into it. Anyone can drive into it. It's public access.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you search, the reason I found is because I was looking up deep underground military bases, and it comes up every single time. It's not a military base, but I think the government has some places in it. You drive down in it, and it is a cave. You're driving through a cave with lighting. Places like Amazon, places like car manufacturers. They have factories in this mine that's underground, and they're built.
I'm going to stop you right there because right off the bat you're already inaccurate.
Go ahead.
A lot of it is cold food storage, and then there's at least one company that's into cybersecurity and data storage, and they have actually got a contract with the DoD, and it's actually kind of perfect because supercomputers create a lot of heat.
Yeah.
You have to cool them off.
There's a lot of servers
but you're
down
underground, so you're cold right off the bat, so your electricity bill drops precipitously.
There are a lot of servers down there. Just they've filled these rooms that they're allowed to have in this mine full of computers. However, there is manufacturing down there. There are people who drive down into Subtropolis every single day, and they go to work in a factory and they build things like cars. There's I think two custom vehicle manufacturing plants down there where they're assembling cars. Now there's no they can only fit certain types of machines down there, but there's a manufacturing of cars. There's a business down there for that. There's one, I don't know if they make signs or what they did. It showed the machines and they were rolling metal through it and putting prints on it. So I don't know if it's like a sign company that works down there and that's what they're making. But it said something like I think it was the state maybe doing like an ad for Subtropolis. Bring your business here. We're doing all this stuff. There was the cold food storage, which wasn't food storage. It was seeds. There was a company down there that they do seeds for planting. They have storage down there. There's a film storage thing where Like all these old films, just millions and millions of films are kept down there in the big circle metal tins.
That was pretty rad.
The cool part I thought of it was people go down there every day for work. That's their work, you know? It's like, oh, I'm going to drive underground, you know, for work today. I thought that was really cool. It's a cool place to work, I think. But I watched a video of, like, it was a home video of a guy driving down there. And he drove through the whole thing, got lost, couldn't figure out where he is. I found that doing...
Yeah, that would be cool for the first week, but I've got to imagine it would get old after a while.
Yeah, it just turns into any job.
Like, I personally, I love outdoor open spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in scenarios where I've got to be inside for huge swaths of the day, and it makes me claustrophobic and a little depressed.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get that. And I would be okay with sitting behind this computer. I already sit behind this computer for 6 to 8 hours a day. Like, I stay up till a decent 2 a.m. every single night. And I sit down at this computer at probably 7, 8 p.m. every single day after work. And this is where I'm happy. Dude, that time flies. Because there's so much to do.
It really does.
There's so much to do. It is literally an unlimited amount of shit to do behind this computer.
The internet is a huge, expansive, disgusting place, yeah.
Yes, mainly disgusting, but I try and avoid those
places. Mainly disgusting. Did you ever watch the Chappelle Show?
Yeah.
He's got a skit on that where he does "What if the internet was a physical place?"
No, I haven't seen that one.
Have you seen that skit?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, I'll have to drop that into the comment section.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on intermission, so I may just put it put the main part of it as the middle part of the intermission.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, I'll probably just do that because I don't feel like thinking of something to do for the intermission. And then hopefully one day soon we'll have ads, which I plan on growing this podcast to. I want this to be my job, and it's unrealistic to think of because it's so oversaturated. When I was looking up these conspiracy theories, especially the one with the Queen, it brought up this podcast. It was a conspiracy theory podcast called Mr. Bunker's Conspiracy Theory Podcast. It's something similar to that. I know his name's Mr. Bunker. And it was a super well put together podcast. The picture he had for his podcast was amazing. The audio quality, amazing. It was just a super good podcast. And I was listening to it. And I looked down at the views, and it had like 34 views.
What?
And I was like, oh shit, this must be a new one. You know, I'm watching a brand new episode. No, it was like a year old. The channel was 2 years old. And he has like 100-something subscribers. And like an average of 30 to 50 views per video. And I was like, oh,
but he was tailoring his shit towards conspiracy theories, and you're tailoring yours towards comedy.
Yes.
Which means that it's going to slip through the algorithm, because the algorithm's trying to suppress his channel.
Yeah, it is. That is true. But there's a main thing that our channels share, and we don't do video during the podcast, which I plan on changing very soon. But something I'd like to do is ask him if he wants to be on the podcast. The other night, Tuesday night maybe, I got like belligerently drunk. And I started just asking everyone if they want to be on the podcast. I went on Twitch, and I would just I would go into people's chats and be like, "Would you like to be on my podcast?" People in the in the video game community, people in the chess.
Okay, hold on now. Time out.
Okay.
Did you record any of this footage off of Twitch?
I did not know. This one time,
Why the fuck would you have recorded that?
because no one responded. People didn't respond, so it'd just be me being fucking pitiful.
No, I bet you there's little snippets that are pure comedy gold.
Maybe some of it was good. Like, there were a couple people that read it. Do you want to be on my podcast? No. Fuck no. that would be funny. But I don't know. It was just kind of like throwing something in the dark, and maybe I'll get something back. If someone has like thousands and thousands of viewers and they were like, you know what, fuck it, I'll be on your podcast, I don't care. They didn't do any research before saying yes, and I'm like, I've trapped them. And then I get them in here and I convince them to say the N word, and then I'm the one that takes them down. That'd be so good, dude. But
they would.
I get a couple people to say yes, but they are like small, they don't have viewers. Like, one of them is one of my friends that just joined into my Discord, and I was like, yo, you want to be on the podcast? And they responded the next day. It was like, sure. I'm like, why is this guy saying sure to me? What is he talking about? And I had to go back. I had to go back into the chat.
You had to do some investigation.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, fuck.
I didn't think I was that drunk. What's that scene from Super Troopers? No, it's Beer Fest. He wakes up and there's just the deer corpse, and he goes, "Oh, not again!"
Something really
himself naked into the wood line.
Something really funny.
It's you just with Discord.
Something funny happened with me today at work. I had a telehandler, which variable reach forklift, and I had to do a blower motor on it for the AC system. And I brought it in my bay, and I had to do it outside. It was because I have so much shit in my bay already I'm working on. I brought it outside. I started tearing it apart, and I was for the life of me, I could not figure out how to get this blower motor out. I couldn't even get eyeballs on it. So I tried to, like, maybe I can go through the top inside the cab, go through the top. Nope, that doesn't work. Go through the bottom. Nope, that doesn't work. I can't see it. Metal plates. Let me go through, the front. I can't do it. And so it's like, instead of wasting time, I'm going to call tech support. And for anyone that doesn't know, tech support is, it's a line that's set up by companies, corporations. They'll set up a phone line, and they put very experienced techs, mechanics, and they say, hey, answer your phone. People are going to call you, answer your phone, and try and help them. And it's the most valuable resource any mechanic has, is tech support. Do you feel that same way?
I've been disappointed a time or two.
I have too. I've been misled and guided down wrong alleyways with tech support. But the majority...
I've actually called tech support up once. And I said, hey, look, I've got this transmission. This is the VIN. This is the vehicle make and model. I've never seen this kind. The guy had the audacity to tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about while I was staring at this transmission. And I was like, oh, okay. I understand it doesn't exist. Goodbye. And hung up.
Well, that was the correct way to handle that situation. But like, I work with people who are dead against tech support. They won't call tech support for shit. I call tech support on everything. So I called tech support and I said, look, I've got this telehandler, and do you have a repair procedure that you could email me? He's like, well, what are you doing with it? I said, oh, it's a JLG telehandler. I'm replacing the blower motor. And do you know what this man said to me?
What?
He said, oh, no.
No, he didn't.
He said, oh, no. I said, what? I said, well, that doesn't sound
exact good. Same. That's exactly what you want to hear.
It was not a good sign. I was like, oh,
That's what you want to hear from your tech support. That's what you want to hear from your medical doctor.
or your barber.
Or your barber.
Whoops.
No, like a barber. Okay,
That
like,
shit grows
your
back.
hair is going to grow back.
Yeah.
Like, that's a given. A lawyer. You don't want to give
No.
your lawyer paperwork, and you
Oh
just say,
no.
"Oh no."
Dude, if I ever have to get a lawyer, like, well, the only time I imagine myself getting a lawyer is if I become very wealthy. Not even very wealthy. If I come into any money, like a livable wage, what I'll do is immediately get a lawyer. And I want the sketchiest lawyer possible. Have you watched Breaking Bad?
Yeah, Better Call Saul.
I want Saul Goodman. I want someone who's okay with breaking the law and okay with, that's fine. It's okay if you broke the law. I'm going to get you off on it. Here's how we're going to do it. That's what I want. I want the sketchiest lawyer possible, and I want the sketchiest...
Well, that is part of a lawyer's job, is to navigate that very wide gray line.
Mm-hmm. They want
It's
technicalities.
not a very narrow line. It is actually much wider than most people think it is.
Yeah, a lawyer wants technicalities. He wants loopholes. He wants things like that.
Yep.
He doesn't care if you're guilty or innocent. He cares if he can convince someone that you're innocent or guilty. If he can...
Well, he cares about making money.
Well, money, yes. Yes, money is the main driver. But the only way to do that is to convince a jury or to find a loophole that, yes, you've committed a crime, but oops, your witness was influenced by someone, so I'm going to throw this entire case out. I would love to have a lawyer that does that. I don't want a lawyer who tells me that I broke the law, here's we might be able to get you a lighter sentence. I want you to get me no sentence. What can you do? And then I want an accountant who hates the IRS as much as I do, and who's like, here's how we're going to make it to where you don't have to pay any money in taxes. I want Trump's lawyer, or Trump's accountant. Except, I think he went to prison, didn't he? No, that was his lawyer. His lawyer went to prison. No politics talk in here. That's not funny.
Well, okay, so we're touching on politics and on lawyers. I just recently watched a YouTube video about... Fuck, and I can't think of his name now.
Harvey Weinstein.
He was No. He was the director of the CIA after...
Comey?
Vietnam. No, before Vietnam. Because it was... He was the director of the CIA during Kennedy's administration.
I do not
and
know
this...
his name.
What's that?
I do not know his name. I have no info to give you here. Carry on.
He was kind of... He was the... like, gung-ho World War II all-American fella, right? And so he gets into the CIA, and he starts digging into some of their records that they would have liked not to have been public.
Yeah.
And he gets into this dilemma where it's like, okay, as director of this organization, this really should be secret. But my moral compass is stating that this really ought to be public knowledge. Like, if we sit on this and it's found out, it's going to do so much more damage than if we come forward with it now. So he makes a list of, like, it's something like 20 or 40 of the most damning operations that the CIA had conducted, hypes it all out, brings it into the presidential cabinet, and Kissinger's sitting down with it, and he's reading it, and there's this excerpt from somebody that was in the room as Kissinger was reading it, and he gets towards the tail end of the document, and this witness goes, yeah, and then Kissinger just kind of put his head up to his forehead and goes, oh.
You see, that's not the lawyer I want. I do not want Kissinger.
No, Kissinger did some amazing things in his tenure as what was his official position? Was it Secretary of State?
I don't know.
I think it was Secretary of State.
Look, I don't vote. I don't know.
Oh, no, that's
politics.
not you don't vote for Secretary of State. That's actually
someone has
something
picked
that
his cabinet.
Yeah, the president picks him.
I was
and
just
then
saying
he
I don't
goes
vote
through the Senate.
I'm so far out of politics at this point that I cannot be bothered to research it, to care about it. I do not care. It's not in my hands. I'll leave it out of my hands. I'll worry about things I can control, like whether or not Joan Rivers was murdered by the Obamas. I can control that.
Should you have the power to control that, though?
Yes, I should. And with that, what we're going to do is we're going to take an intermission, and we're going to hear a nice little Dave Chappelle skit, and we will be right back.
Perfect, because I also need to get another alcohol.
Very good. Hello, fellow. That's not what I was trying to say. Hello, valued Goofy Fella Show listeners. I know you're expecting a Dave Chappelle clip here for the intermission, but that is not what you will be receiving. I had trouble downloading the YouTube video because it was too long. I couldn't figure out how to crop it. So instead, something better even. You'll be listening to some beautiful recorder music, and I think that'll suffice. So we will be right back from intermission.
They're going to want to continue that trend by watching a nice podcast on YouTube.
This guy I work with, he kept chanting today, "Fuck the Queen!" Like
Jesus Christ!
It'd be out of nowhere, like for no reason. "Fuck the Queen!" and we'd all be like, "Fuck the Queen!" All right, we're back. I've already started.
I kind of wanted to talk about this. Like, we've had so many people in the past, just this year, that have stepped down from power or died, that have been in huge positions of power.
Mm-hmm. Like Trump.
That it's...
Oh, no, that's a couple of years ago.
No, that administration was more trouble than anything else. Let's not get into an argument about that, though.
No, that's for different times.
This
is a comedy podcast.
No, so you've got all these these individuals like Angela Merkel, that was Chancellor of Germany for like 20 years, finally stepped down this year. You got Gorbachev that died this week. The Queen of England. Like I started reflecting on it today after I heard the news, and it's like a changing of the guard. You're having a complete change out of these huge influential people.
I mean, fuck them,
And that's
dude.
that rant.
They're old. Look, I've said it on the podcast before, I'll say it again. I think all old people should die. I think at a certain age, you need to run off into the damn woods and just die. Because you've
You know, you're going to get old one day,
yeah,
right?
and what I've said on the podcast is when I reach the age of I'm done with my usefulness for society or for my family, I'm running off into the woods and dying. No one will have to worry about a funeral, no cremation. You're not going to find me. I'm dead. I'm getting eaten by coyotes. And I stand by that.
Oh, that'd be terrifying.
Nah, not if I'm dead. I plan on dying before the coyotes get to me. Really, I'm just helping out the food chain. We went into a deep conversation today about pollution and overpopulation of the world, because it was me and Mason, who I've spoken about in this podcast, and Spencer, who I really want to have you and Spencer on at the same time. I think you and Spencer will jive really well together. No, I'm gonna wait until we get shit right and we have our audio right and we have video, and I'm gonna have you and Spencer on because I think you guys will jive really well together. And with me as the moderator throwing in absurd shit every few seconds, I think it'll be very, very good content.
Okay.
Spencer's a super interesting guy, and we talk.
Has he been on the podcast yet?
He has not. No, but he's the one that introduced me to the podcast that you and I so much enjoy. And
okay, so he's got good taste.
He has very good taste. Yes, he's introduced me to a lot of things. Do you watch any other podcasts? Are you big into podcasts? Any LA podcasts?
Oh no. I'm kind of vanilla. Like
Rogan.
one podcast that I really got into was it's called Casual Preppers. Have you heard of that one yet?
No, but I do enjoy prepper shit.
Yeah. So the practical prepper is just two buddies, and they're joking and toking the whole time.
Joking and
And
talking.
they do have entire specials about wacky conspiracy theories. So you might actually listen to that one and get some notes on it.
Yeah.
But it's actually enjoyable to listen to, especially their early shit.
I don't know.
I started listening to it during the pandemic, and they had 2 years prior to the pandemic. They touched on pandemics and how to prep for it, and then 2019 I started listening into the 2019 episodes, especially like October, November, December, and they're talking about all their plans that they had for the spring and summer of 2020, and I just caught myself as I'm listening to them talking about these plans. I'm like, no, that's not going to work out for you, bud.
That's something I found super interesting about listening to the podcast we referred to earlier. Because it started in 2016 and listening to it back in 2016, and they're talking about like, yo, did you hear Trump is running for president? And like talking about like different stuff. It's like, oh, I'm super interested to see
Yeah.
in real time, when events happen.
It is really funny
And it was good.
to get the historical context of these huge events.
But honestly, it was what I thought it would be. And it's like, oh, people just lay down so easily. And so they have all these big, I've got a big opinion on this. And then whenever the opposite happens, it's like, oh, it is what it is. They were like, oh my God, if Trump becomes president, I'm fucking, the world's going to end. And then he becomes president, and they're like, well, it may not be that bad. And that's just human nature. It's just like we have these strong opinions on shit, and then when the opposite happens, it's like, well, whatever. Fuck it. Like, that's his viewpoint on it. I don't know. We adapt so easily to shit. But the conversation that the three of us had today was about overpopulation, pollution, and we had varying views on it. So, like, one of the guys, he was like, our humans are having a very negative impact on the planet, and at some point it's going to be inhabitable. And then, like, my side of it, I was on the other side of the spectrum, where it's like, global warming's fake, and humans don't have the ability to have any impact on the planet whatsoever. Nature's too powerful. And then the other guy was like kind of in the middle, and he had very good viewpoints on both sides. Like, oh, we're over polluting and we're over hunting and over fishing, but the pollution side of it, it's like, maybe we didn't. And it was a super good conversation we had. That's why I need to start podcasting during work hours. Because I do feel as though those...
That would be so sick if your boss let you do that.
Who fucking cares what he wants? Let's just do it. That's what I said. So let's just bring the shit in, and whenever we're fucking off and just having conversations, just set the shit up. Record it. And then he'll come out and be like, well, work, because that's a comment. My service manager will walk out. He's funny. He's a good guy. He'll come out, but he'll walk out the door. He'll light up his cigarette, stare off into space, and then he'll just be like, work harder. And then we'll be like, oh shit, we'll be right back. What's your views on the population of the planet? And
in what context?
This is going against the comedy aspect, but I think we can make enough jokes in the middle of it where it'll still be comedy. As far as the human race goes, do you feel as though the amount of humans we have on the planet is more towards the higher end of what we should have, or more towards the lower end of the amount of humans we should have on the planet as far as it being habitable? Does that make sense? What I just said?
That's a loaded question. It's when you look deeply into that question, it's not as cut and dry as yes or no. So right now we've currently got 7.75 billion people on the planet.
Yes.
I mean, you could extrapolate mathematically that each individual needs it's like 1,800 calories per day to be relatively healthy, and then figure out how many square acres you need to meet that. And there is a number where you go, okay, well, clearly this is the upper limit of the amount of people that we can have on this rock and still produce the food necessary to give every soul the proper caloric intake per day.
And that's super interesting that you would say that, and it's something that I've never heard. as an argument for where our population should be is caloric intake. And so that dives more into, I'm a big fan, and look, I'll throw out my political beliefs, is I'm far more right-leaning than I am left-leaning, and I fit more into...
And you say that,
yeah.
And you
you
poke at that.
I'm about to contradict myself.
But I happen to know you're pretty smart, and I happen to know that you're quite sarcastic and love trolling people. So I'm half convinced that that's all you're doing when you're saying that I'm right-leaning, or you take a right-leaning thought, is that you're just trolling the fuck out of people.
Well, I rely very heavily on the fact, like, it's my only positive quality I have, is that no one can ever tell whether or not I'm being serious. It's the only thing I have going for me, where it's...
Well, that is a double-edged sword, though.
Why? Where could that be negative? Only with loved ones.
There are times and places where you need to cut the shit and
fuck no.
Be serious and approachable.
Where?
No.
Name one.
Business.
Business. I know you can't see me currently, but I'm not wearing a fucking suit and tie. I'm wearing a pair of pajama pants. I don't do business, homie. I do employment. I do trades of time versus pay.
Yeah, that's business.
And in those business, I'm doing air quotes here, business situations, I rely very heavily on that superpower I have, where you don't know if I'm being serious or not. I tell my bosses daily to their face that I'm going to quit. I will tell my boss, hey, you better find my replacement pretty soon. And they'll laugh because they think I'm joking. When in
I bet you
when in reality,
you do not conduct yourself the same way with the customers of whom you cut their lawns.
That's true. That is very true. And you got me there. Am I sarcastic? Yes. I do use integrity and honesty when I am talking to my own personal customers. So, and when I tell them, hey, whenever I cut your grass, it makes me want to kill myself. You
do not go to your customers and talk about suicide.
You can ask any single one of my customers. And they will tell you. They will tell you, if Jake cuts my grass one more time, I think he might kill himself because I hate it so much. What was I? Whoa.
Speaking of that, did you ever get your lawnmower resolved?
No, I actually moments ago, before we started the podcast, I went and put my coil. I got a brand new coil. I went and put it on. It didn't work. It didn't start it.
No.
So I don't know. I'm just gonna quit cutting grass right.
What do you mean you don't know? Did you see if it's sucking air through the exhaust?
I didn't look into that. No. Do you know how hard that is? You have to pull. What am I gonna do there? How am I gonna test that without a second person? I guess I could ask Shelby to pull the pull.
I'll tell you the way I tested it.
Go ahead.
I sprayed ether in the exhaust and the fucking thing started.
All right. You know what? You go ahead and fill air again. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm gonna get tested.
Well, viewers, I am drinking a product called Make Me Kumquat. It's 5.8% alcohol, and it was canned in a crowler on the 7th month of 2020. So that's like the height of the pandemic. My former job sent me down to West Palm Beach to go look at some trucks. It was like the epicenter of our state's COVID cases, and they sent little lonesome old me down there to inspect trucks on freshly paved asphalt in fucking July. Had no water, had no food, no comms out. Oh, that company was shit. Go down into the comments section and tell us what you hate most about your job. Solidarity through what the fuck is it? It's
My lawnmower engine is not running backwards.
And you've got spark?
Got spark, compression. Won't start off a starting fluid. In either hole. Tried both holes. I remember what I was talking about is my... And I don't know why I prefaced it, but I was talking about my political views. And how I'm more right-leaning.
Ooh, this ought to be interesting. So legitimately, all joking and poking and
all joking aside, I will be genuine for the first time in my entire life. I am far more right-leaning than I am left-leaning in the ways of I think. Now, when I put my political spectrum up here, right side, conservatism. Now, farther right side is libertarianism, where it's the complete abolishment of government in entirety, which I don't agree with. Conservatism is the decreasing of government, and to have a small government, and their only goal is to protect your freedoms as the Constitution. I get heartburn. As the Constitution puts forth as your freedoms. And that's the only point of the government. The left side is more liberal side and more Democrat side, where it's more government and giving the government control over things that the private sector has control of, because the private sector is corrupt, and you give the government control over that, and it's better for the American people. Which I'm fine with both sides. Both sides I completely understand. I lean more towards the right side, where I think the private sector does a better job than the government does at pretty much anything. And I've said that to you before. And I apologize if you think I was joking. But I think that the private sector can do anything the government can do more efficiently and more cost effectively and better for the people who are using that.
What about the case scenarios where that's inaccurate?
In my research and experience back when I was very into politics, the only ones I found that maybe the government can do a better job in America, which is not in every country, not in every instant, not in every population, but in America, the only ones I found that the government could do a better job was the manufacturing of aircrafts, and I think the DMV, unfortunately. But I think that was it. I think those are the only ones I was like, okay, maybe the government, is best to do this. But healthcare was not one of them.
Well, when was the last time that we had have we ever had truly socialized medicine at the federal level?
Not on the country scale. I believe Massachusetts did on the state government level. They had a state Medicare program that all citizens paid taxes into and you could get for free. But I don't think they still do. I think at one point Massachusetts did, like early 2000s. But I don't believe on a country level we've ever had a completely government-funded healthcare system.
So it's hard to state that the U.S. is bad at that if it's never attempted that, right?
That's correct, yes.
Except, like, you could look at other countries and say...
We could look at the government. We could look at the United States government's VA system. That's the only thing that we have that's closest to a government-run healthcare system.
Yeah.
And I don't know your experience with the VA system. I just know what I've heard.
And I've never taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
And
you've chosen the private
sector. It's due to a moral... Well, it's due to a moral obligation. I don't feel that I've done anything or acquired injury that would require the U.S. taxpayer to pay for my health care. And so I actively choose not to utilize that service.
Yeah.
Which is now, if we wanted to... What's that?
Which is nice. I mean, wanting someone who needs it more to take your place in line, basically. You know, someone.
Yeah, there are people that have done way harder things and that have actually sustained injuries in the armed forces for U.S. National security. They need that service way more than I do. I'm doing okay financially. I don't need it. And so I've taken this approach where, well, if I don't need it, I'm not going to utilize it.
Did you choose to go with the private sector when you got your sex change surgery? Or did you go through the VA with that?
When I got my cock enlargement surgery?
Yeah, when you got your cock made into a big cock.
Oh, no, I fronted that out, man.
Okay, good. Thank God.
And the reason that I got that surgery is ROI. I have a mathematical equation that states that I can actually earn money off a bigger cock. So, given enough time, it actually pays for itself. And given a long enough stretch of using it, I'll actually make money off of it. So,
see, that's a really good reason. The reason I would want a bigger cock is so I could finally please my wife in bed.
I don't know what to say to that.
Dude, fuck healthcare, dude. Who cares? No one cares. I care, and you care, and we can talk about this on our own. I don't think the viewer cares. What do you think? Do you think they want to hear about it?
Well, it is boring, and it can get dragged out. I think a more appropriate way to tie this all together is to talk about government size, and environmental, essentially the EPA, right?
Yeah.
Would you be kosher with us diving into that a bit?
Yeah. Do you remember we were sitting on my back porch one time? Our significant others were sitting out there with us, and I said that I think we should completely defund the EPA.
Vaguely?
What if I were to tell you right now that I think we should completely defund the EPA and the FDA? You wouldn't like it. You didn't like it then. But now I'm starting to learn that I think you may have thought I was joking. And it was like something I didn't.
Oh, I absolutely thought you were joking.
Oh, no, dude. That's my bad, probably. No, back when I was talking about that, it was 100%. That's 100% what I thought. I think the Food Drug Administration should be... that's a waste of money. The EPA... That's a complete waste of money.
So walk me through this. Why is it that you come to that opinion?
And I think life is about decisions and consequences. If I were to boil life down, if I were to take life and existence and put it into a pot and just do a little bit of boiling and get it down to its rawest form, it would be... Life is about decisions and consequences.
Yep.
Your result is based off of the decisions you've made and then the positive or negative consequences that come along with that.
Yep.
And so the Food Drug Administration, I don't know. Maybe if you eat poison, you're going to die. I don't know where I went with it back then. I think I had a good reason for it back then, but that's back when I gave a shit, Adam. I don't give a shit anymore. I want stimulus checks now. I want the government. I want the government to give me as much money as possible. I don't care where they get it. Print it. Take it from millionaires. Take it from billionaires. I do not care. Just give it to me. Is where I'm at, so I can buy more guns with it. Is where I'm currently sitting in my political spectrum. The only thing I genuinely still hold on to for some reason, and I told my coworkers about this today. I was like, look, conspiracy theories, I have fun with them. They're fun. They're fun to look into. They're fun to believe in. They're fun to convince other people that I believe in them. I think that's fun.
See, this is where the trolling thing comes in.
It's fun to troll people and be like, I believe that Michelle Obama, as a man, Michael Obama, murdered Joan Rivers. I think that's really cool. The only one that I'm like, I still stick to and actually believe is that overpopulation is a myth and that humans don't have the ability to either pollute the earth nor to change the climate of the earth. And
real?
For real. 100%. I don't believe that we as humans, as animals, have the ability to affect the atmosphere. We have the ability to pollute the oceans. Do we throw trash in the oceans? Yes. Are we polluting the oceans to any type of significant measurement? No, I don't believe so. A good question I always ask people is, if we actively tried to pollute the oceans, so 100% of the waste that we create as humans, we dumped into the oceans, how long do you think it would take for us to completely cover the ocean surface in garbage?
What's the answer to that question?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. I haven't come up with a metric.
Well, why not?
My guess would be millions of years. If every single day our active goal was to pollute the ocean. And that came from one time my sister-in-law told me that at a certain point we're going to pollute space to the point where we can't leave the atmosphere. And I lost my mind.
Oh, we're already on that precipice, my man.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that humans have the ability to do that. So I asked... I asked people today, I said, look, I'd love to come up with a statistic if we kept going at the rate we're going of sending shit into space, satellites and whatnot into space. In 1,000 years, if we kept going the rate we are, what were the odds of us launching a rocket into space, the odds of a piece of space debris that we have put up there hitting our rocket? Because I feel as though the odds of that happening are in the millionth of a percentile, 0.00000000001, because of how big space is. And all I'm talking about is the last layer of atmosphere we have on our planet, the thinnest layer of space. I'm not talking about deep space. I'm talking about the thinnest layer of atmosphere. If we were to launch a rocket up there, what are the odds of trash that we have put up there hitting our rocket in 1,000 years if we continue at the rate we're going?
Have you ever heard of SpaceX?
Yes. You know, I tried to join.
Have you ever heard of their... what's that?
You know, I tried to join Space Force.
I did know that, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
It really would have.
Yeah.
It would have been most enlightening.
Oh, it'd be awesome. Too bad I'm an asthmatic fuck.
Yeah.
Before I did this podcast, I went and hit my
In space,
inhalers.
you can't breathe?
I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning was. But I went and hit my inhalers so I didn't have this whistly ass nose during the podcast. But I probably still do. What were we saying? SpaceX?
Yeah, so have you ever heard of what do they call their satellites?
I don't know. Space Link?
It's something to that effect.
Yeah.
Do you know how many satellites they have permission from the FCC to put into orbit around the Earth?
350 per year? The
Um,
answer to your question is no. I don't know, but I threw out a guess.
So the permit that they have through the FCC, if I remember correctly, was for 1,800 satellites.
Is there a time period on that?
There is. It was a 4 or a 6-year time period.
Okay. If it's 4, that's 450 per year. So that's somewhat close to my guess. If it's 6.
It actually is. That's actually, I was super impressed by
If it's 6, it's closer
how close
to my
you were.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and that's just one company. We've been putting satellites up since
And that's one country.
1960.
Are any other Russia's putting satellites up there? China's putting satellites up there?
China has put satellites up. They're not as capable.
They're worrying about...
That's actually a fun fact about the whole Ukraine invasion. Do you know why they do not have air superiority over Ukraine?
No.
They don't have air superiority over Ukraine because they're using consumer-grade GPS in both their aircraft and in their air-to-ground missiles.
Mm-hmm.
And the GPS constellation that is over that part of the world is mostly U.S. satellites. So when they officially declared a limited military operation over Ukraine, we turned our U.S. manufactured GPSs off.
Wow.
Yep.
So we have the majority of them in space.
we have the majority of GPS satellites over Europe and Russia. We actually subsidize their GPS constellations so that...
What do you mean over?
In the event...
What do you mean over those places?
So GPS satellites are what is called geostationary satellites. We put them in orbit around the Earth at it's an altitude of 24,000 miles. And what that does is it matches the speed of the Earth.
So it's okay.
So they're constantly in the exact same place. Constantly.
So they're not rotating around the Earth. They're just like almost... they're kind of like a satellite.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, that's
Adam, would you like to know 2 facts that I have in my arsenal that I pull out quite often? Because I
would love to know fact.
People seem to forget these facts. These 2 facts that I hold on to, and they're...
don't do a flat Earth joke here, dude.
I promise they're not, because my dad once called me about flat Earth, and I told him to fuck off. I'm like, don't... I'm like, look, I'll allow a lot of shit. But the 2 conspiracy theories I cannot get into because they are way too far-fetched for me are 1, flat Earth, and 2, that gay people can still come. And I just...
No, come on.
I just won't listen to them. So, the 2 facts...
Okay. Disregard my last comments request. Just bombard the comments section with gay porn.
Damn it, I did.
That's all I want you to do now.
They're not actually gay. They're just trying to get money. They're fucking dudes for money, and there's nothing straighter than that. The 2 facts...
that is hyper-masculine in all honesty.
It's pretty badass to be like, I want money so bad. I'm willing to fucking do it. Alright, I'm abandoning funny time. Genuine, my 2 favorite facts I've ever learned, and the 2 that are helping me to where it's like, oh man, overpopulation and pollution are horseshit. Why are you laughing? What are you laughing at?
It's just... there's so much overwhelming data to support that they're genuine concerns of this species.
Okay, let me tell you this fact. Do you know what Nemo's point is?
No idea.
Nemo's point, and this is super interesting, is a point in the ocean to where the closest human being to you is in the International Space Station. So if you were to go east, west, south, or north, you wouldn't reach a human before you were to go up and go to the International Space Station. That's how big the fucking ocean is. The ocean's massive. If you go look at the globe and you spin the globe to where Nemo's point is at the very center of it, you don't see land. It's just ocean.
So, and here is the counter argument I'm going to give.
Okay.
Is though it is huge, it is not infinitely huge.
It's not infinitely huge. That is true.
It is quantifiable. This is why I related so much more to Thanos than any other character in the Endgame series.
Jesus Christ. All right. Let me get into overpopulation then.
Okay.
Have you heard me rant about Texas?
I think a couple of times, yeah. It's a pretty large landmass.
It's huge. It's massive. Biggest intercontinental state we have. Intercontinental state. Every single human being on this planet, which you said earlier is like 7.3 billion people. We could all fit inside.
7 3/4.
7 3/4. So 7.66 billion people. That's wrong. 7.75 billion people.
Yep. There you go.
We could all fit inside Texas and have 1,000 square feet to ourselves.
How many square feet is in Texas?
When you take 7.75 billion and you multiply that by 1,000, that's how many square feet are in Texas.
No. I'm not going to believe your word on this.
Well, you could fact check it if you want.
That's not allowed on this channel.
Psych, just kidding. Can't fact check shit. So, let's disregard the first 2 comment requests, and what we're going to do in the third comment request is request that the viewer, the valued viewer, please research how many square feet are in Texas. And if you wouldn't mind doing the math for me, if you wouldn't mind doing 7.75 times 1,000 equals, and then in the equals mark, you can go ahead and put the square footage of Texas, because that's what the equation is. And look, I preface this with, this is a fact, Adam. The Nemos point shed is a fact, and the square footage of Texas, you can fit every single human in there with 1,000 square feet to themselves, is a fact. So what we run into is human beings, for some reason, we've done this thing where we want to crowd ourselves together, and that's probably for reproduction. Our animal instincts go towards reproduction, so we want to fit each other. We want to be close to as many mates as possible. And it probably also goes...
Actually, you know what? If I think about it, it's probably got to do more with the Industrial Revolution and the advent of capitalism.
That is true. The Industrial Revolution is when people started moving into cities, and for the first time ever, you weren't living off of what you were able to grow. It was what you were able to purchase. So that was a big...
No, that's much older than that. That actually goes back to... the birth of civilization.
But
you have individuals that specialize in farming, and then others that specialize in metallurgy, and others that specialize in writing and politics, so on and so forth.
But on a large,
that's a
scale, like what we
5 to 10,000 year old accomplishment.
That is true. Cities where the jobs are. You go to a city because that's where the money is, that's where the jobs are, so you can purchase food for your family instead of just
and that's a fascinating concept, is cities and capitalism are 2 separate
entities,
inventions. Yeah.
Yes.
So even though you had cities that predated capitalism, when the Dutch kind of stumbled into capitalism, you kind of set the grounds for the Industrial Revolution. And that's when things really popped off. I mean, do you know what the population of Seoul, South Korea is?
No. Would you like me to
Hazard
guess that
guess.
as well?
Yes.
Seoul, South Korea.
Yep.
I knew someone who lived there. That actually Mason. I've spoken about him like 4 times this fucking podcast. I would be willing to guess 1.5 million people.
More.
Really? That's a small country.
Seoul is a city.
Well, South Korea in total is a small country, because that's what I'm trying to go off of.
It has the landmass of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yep.
More than 1.5 million. 4 million.
Yep. More.
I give up, dude. Fuck them. They need to die.
It's 10 million people.
That's
a
insane.
City has a population of 10 million people.
Why?
Capitalism, my man.
Now.
And do you know what's more tragic than that?
Mexico City. Mexico.
No. So Seoul, South Korea, has been under the under the targetable weapon systems of the North Koreans for 60 years.
Is that the unfortunate part?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's not unfortunate.
The North Koreans have the ability to take out potentially 10 million people in a whim.
Could I get it? 60 years.
You want a lifeline?
No, 60 years. So that's 1909. What were we doing in 1909? Cowboys? That was cowboy time? Early 1900s?
Yep, that was post Civil War, pre World War One.
Okay. 1909 was a little bit after Cowboys. From that amount of time, 60 years in the future, we were able to land a human on the moon as a country.
Oh, you know what's even more fascinating about that?
We didn't land on the moon. It's a myth.
Oh, you got me. You got me good, you fucker.
I don't believe that. What? No, what were you going to say? I do believe we landed on the moon, if that's what's catching you up. In 1969.
No, I actually just understood that 1909 was the date that the Wright brothers took their first flight.
Really? Do you remember that, or did you look it up?
No, it's right around that period.
Yeah. The only thing I know of that era was I played Red Dead Redemption, which is a Rockstar
and we
video game.
did land on the moon in 69, so
Yes.
that would have been 60 years,
60 years.
almost to the day.
So my the reason I brought that up is they've had 60 years to develop some kind of deterrent or ability to keep North Korea from attacking them and nuking them. And if they haven't, that's natural selection, and they deserve to die. The same amount of time we had to where we learned that flight is possible to landing on our satellite, which is the moon. The same amount of time. If you can't do that in that same amount of time, I'm sorry. If the Native Americans of America had the same amount of time we did to develop weapons and armor, and they didn't do it, they were smoking peyote, I'm sorry. That's natural selection.
So I'm going to argue on that because I just actually finished that book.
Okay, you finished the book? Yeah.
Yep.
This is a good callback to episode 2, everybody. If you haven't listened to episode 2, go listen.
No, it was episode 3.
It was episode 3. Episode 2 was just me.
Yep.
You're correct. Episode 3.
So the author of that book actually argues that one of the reasons that Europeans became so advanced in many different aspects of civilization is because Europe was not under one government, and it was multiple governments in a very small space that always kind of, through the nature of conflict, had to ratchet up. Portugal has a military advantage. Spain has to counteract that. Spain becomes top dog in Europe. Italy has to counteract that, etc., etc., etc. Whereas in North America, because of a combination of geography and ecology, they never were forced to the conditions that the Europeans were met with.
Is that a similar thing with why Africa only recently stopped having mud huts? Because they didn't have any external conflict other than slave traders coming there and stealing them, I guess. I'm just trying to compare it to something else. Because if you go off of one versus
so
one.
Africa kind of has the same problem that the Americas do, in that they're like North Africa has a very thin geological area where both agriculture and civilization can thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have that huge tract of land, the Sahara Desert, which is almost useless.
Yeah.
And then you've got Middle Africa, where you start to get into the Congo. And so you end up with this huge geological feature that, even though the North Africans are trading with Europeans, they don't have the same natural resources as the Europeans, but they also don't have trade routes through the Sahara Desert to fuck around with the Congo. So you end up with these isolated pockets, and because the Congo is so agriculturally rich, you have no necessity to develop huge, large agricultural forces that then raise the necessity to beat your neighbor in military affairs. It's...
Do you know what the world's largest desert is?
Ooh, and this author points out that Africa, its geological outline is more longitudinally stretched out, which means that plants in North Africa do not fare the same as plants in the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another reason that Europe had a huge advantage, is Europe is in longitude longer than it is wide. So a plant that grows in Estonia will more or less grow in the same conditions in Portugal.
What I can't fact check it now, but I'd like to know the width of Africa versus the width of Europe, because on a flattened globe map that we usually see.
Jesus Christ.
What? No, this isn't flat Earth. I mean, like,
okay.
When we view a globe, and the only way to view it in total is to unwrap the sphere. And so you're looking at a flat
misrepresented
Earth. It's a
geological, yeah,
as far as size goes. And so Africa...
Size and scale.
Size and scale. So Africa is one of the largest continents.
I believe it's actually the largest.
I looked
maybe
this up.
Asia.
I looked this up recently because I thought Antarctica was the largest, which is also an answer to my question I had earlier of what the largest desert in the world is. It's Antarctica.
Yep.
I thought Antarctica
because it technically doesn't rain; it snows.
Yes, that's correct. But then I brought this up. It's like, if the Sahara Desert, they can't do anything in the Sahara Desert, but Antarctica is the largest desert. How were the Nazis able to invent the UFO in Antarctica with the help of the Aryan race, which lives inside the hollow earth? If they were able to do that inside the desert, how could the Africans not grow a little bit of corn? I don't think growing some corn is too much to ask in a Sahara Desert. But that's just food for thought, if you will.
That was food for thought, brother.
We're sitting at about an hour.
Almost 2 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
About 2 a.m. here. I need to wake up here in about 4 hours. So I think we're gonna call
You
it on
poor sorry sucker.
That's all right. I'll just be late to work. I don't give a shit.
Just be like, no, fuck that. You got a sick day left, right?
I got a couple.
Take a sick day. Do a Hunter S. Thompson routine.
We have one guy who's out because he just had a baby. He's on paternity leave, and then our
He is on paternity leave?
Isn't that what it's called? Maternity leave is when the woman is off. Paternity leave is when the man is off.
No. Look,
The paternal
what
father,
what he did to contribute to that child is payment enough.
coming?
Yes.
No.
That's all the payment you need.
We get 2 weeks off. You get 2 weeks off for having a child if you're a man.
You guys
or
are
one.
pieces of shit over there.
We're just communists. We're
Just commies.
we're union, baby.
No. The socially accepted phrase is socialist now. Get with the times, man.
The
It's
socially
2022.
accepted phrase is retards for communists.
Retards. No. I'm retarded. I don't get maternity leave.
You don't
or
get any
paternity
money.
leave.
You don't get paid or time off for being retarded. You just get abused.
No, that's called Social Security, dude.
Well, that's true. Like I said earlier, old people just need to die. So then there's more Social Security left over for the communists.
So I had a coworker once that had this phrase he picked up from his uncle. He'd say, "Man, back when I was growing up, retards never made it to retirement."
What? That's a terrible saying. What does that mean?
What do you mean?
What did they died?
Yeah,
At an early age? Hopefully.
absolutely.
Like at right after birth situation.
Oh, this one's not good for circulation.
Well,
Fire up the oven.
let's call it there, Mr. Adam. It's a good ending spot there. Make sure to
All right, man.
leave comments on whatever the fuck we said to leave comments about.
The
Like
three
and subscribe.
comments. It's I've forgotten the first one already.
I remember the third one because that's the one I brought it. I wasn't there for the first two, I don't think.
You were there for the second one. You were absolutely not there for the first one.
No. The third one was about Texas's landmass.
Yes. How many square feet are actually in Texas?
Doing the equation to find how many square feet are in Texas. The second one was correcting me on Asians. Was it about Asians? No, it was gay people. It was about if gay people can come, which is not true.
Yeah. Just bombard the comment section with gay porn.
Gay porn, yes. Put gay porn in.
Yeah.
First one I wasn't there for. I don't know. That's on you. I think it was something about alcoholism, maybe?
It was alcohol related.
Yeah. Belligerently drunk?
Oh. It was, I wanted to know what everybody else was drinking tonight.
Nice. Okay. Leave one of those comments, and it'll be very much appreciated. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe. Plenty more coming out. Plenty more with Mr. Adam. It was a pleasure having you, sir.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, we'll have to do this again. And you said our next guest has his microphone?
He has a good microphone, he said, but he was waiting on us to get our audio situation figured out. And like I said, yours is a tiny bit choppy, which I think he'll get over, but I'd like to just get my studio set up pretty soon.
I completely understand.
We'll do that soon.
All right, man.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, yep. You have a good night.